When you hear the phrase soft as steel, what do you think of? While the word steel might conjure up images such as massive high-rise buildings, where does the soft part come in? And what exactly does this mean in our work and in our lives? Welcome to the Soft as Steel podcast with your host, Dennis Doran, featuring engaging conversations with a wide range of industry leaders around soft skills, how we practice love, inclusion, social justice, and compassionate leadership that's everlasting in the workplace. And now, here's Dennis Doran.
I'm very pleased to be joined for today's podcast by Aaron Prill. I was particularly interested in having a conversation with Aaron in part because of how he describes himself and his role and approach in highly technical and complex projects, doing so with a large measure of recognition of soft skills, and appears he understands them well. It's clear to me that Aaron understands and supports these ideas in his pursuit of excellence. Focusing on mission-critical facilities, Aaron has been in the construction industry for over 22 years. He has built, managed, and mentored teams all over North America to help build communications infrastructure that society now depends on daily. Aaron works hard to create and cultivate strong, positive relationships and promotes mental health awareness and maintenance. Aaron, welcome to the Soft as Steel podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
I hope you didn't mind that I added a few thoughts to your introduction.
No, that's great.
Yeah, I made you seem even greater than you already are. I mean, it's what a way to start the interview.
Right?
I mean, goodness gracious, yeah. Share this with Sean. Say to Sean, he made me just something almost godlike, Sean.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know how to pump up a guy's ego.
Well, I mean those thoughts because you know where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
And I thank you so much for agreeing to have this conversation. I'm the soft skills guy. You know, The book I wrote back in 2019 has continued to be the basis for my message, in particular to the construction industry, but really to industry, commerce, any endeavor. And that is that the difference maker is related to the how a person is as they deal with folks.
Yep.
And that their qualities come through in the way they represent themselves, the way they communicate, and the things that they do. And I get that you get that just based on how you described yourself again. And I want to hear more from you about, again, you're dealing with, again, complex technical projects. So that part is very clear. It's not just a high-rise building.
Right.
It may not be as big as a high-rise building, but then again, it might be if it's a data warehouse or some other things, but it's complex. And complexity challenges people. And so my first question for you to just get your thoughts on is just as a general thought, as you fill your role and your relationship with your clients in particular, how do you use your qualities? And you can say what I think they are. If you say, I consider myself to be this kind of a person, and how it helps you to both establish your relationship with your clients, but also nurture it and make it as successful as it can be by virtue of not just your technical excellence, but how you are as you serve them.
Sure. Well, firstly, I tend to listen more than I talk. And that's, especially for our clients, that's important. Just for society, right? I mean, it's better to listen than before responding, right? And make sure you understand what the message is being communicated. And it's not just what's being said, but also how it's being said.
Mm-hmm.
A good friend of mine mentioned this to me, that she felt that I make people feel comfortable in a room, say whatever it is. So I really try to never be the smartest one in the room, very humble, and make people comfortable so that they can open up and talk without fear of being any kind of negative reinforcement, I guess. So I think that's the biggest thing, is get people comfortable so that they can trust you and can rely on you, and then lead by example and help support them. Everybody makes mistakes. I make mistakes. But if folks are comfortable in making those mistakes, they'll actually learn from them too.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just reinforcing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's terrific. I mean, did you make notes of the things you wanted to say? Did you make notes?
No,
of course you did. And that's, again, that's the fun and interesting part of this experience, is that we didn't have advanced preparation.
Right.
Because again, implicitly, I can tell as I listen to your words that you speak with your clients and in the relationship you're trying to build with the foundation of your technical knowledge and abilities, which is what they value as a basic. You got to be able to do the job.
Absolutely.
But what I hear in you is that is that you understand yourself well. You were given a gift by one of your peers or colleagues or that individual that described you to you, and it is a gift because sometimes one of the questions that I used in the research for my book was that if I were to ask someone that knew you very well over a period of time how they would describe you, what do you think they would say? So putting the person on the spot, you answered that question actually for me without me asking the question, which again, just another aspect of your brilliance. I mean, we're uncovering so much about you in this short conversation. But what you said, it makes me feel real good because that's what it's all about. And so you clearly get it. I was struck by the combination of words in a portion of your introduction. Where you said you work hard to create and cultivate strong, positive relationships. And we've already kind of addressed that and how you do it, this notion of trying to make people feel comfortable so they can trust you. Incredibly, on point, valuable qualities to possess, to be able to do that with individuals so that they can trust you is incredibly important to your success and to their satisfaction with the service you deliver as well. But you close that sentence by saying promotes mental health awareness and maintenance. I'm intrigued by that. Again, it's one of the things that I talk about quite a bit. But I'm intrigued that you thought that it was important for you to include that in terms of how you described yourself. Share with us what your thoughts are.
So I'm very introverted. So being around a lot of people actually is difficult for me. So it drains me. Like this weekend at the conference, every day I have to meditate and several times a day just to ground myself, to clear my head and so that I can be the best me when I need it. Right. So a lot of it is I watched this podcast. I'm sorry, it was a TED Talk, and I don't remember the exact title of it, but it's one that the speaker says uses an analogy that children at say 5 years old know to put a Band-Aid on a cut, but we don't know how to take care of our mental selves, our emotional selves. And so the emotional hygiene is so important, especially when we're under pressure. And it took me a long time to learn that. But still to this day, I meditate, as often as I can, as often as I need to, and promote it. So when I onboard new people onto my team, that's a component of my onboarding presentation is they have to watch that TED Talk, and they don't have to follow it by any means. It's up to them. But I make them understand, or help them understand, that it's important for me that they take care of themselves. And that's not just physical, but also mental.
Wow. That's unusual for a leader to self-describe that as part of how they talk about who they are, is to recognize the importance of a practice. And again, I'm one of those people that I read a lot, and I think I know some things. I know that meditation is a very valuable practice, and I don't do it. I know that stretching is very valuable for me at my advanced age to keep my golf swing intact, but I don't do it.
Yeah.
And so any credibility I have for anything I talk about, I have none. Because and yes, I do have a bit of a sense of humor, which I get the biggest kick out of your boss getting him to laugh when he laughs at some of the things that I say, because some of the things are actually ridiculous. But again, there's just I don't mean to be so gracious, but I'm just so impressed with the few things that you've said so far, and I can't wait for people to hear what you're talking about. So I'm going to make it a little more interesting for you. You may recall from reading my one pager that I have 4 pillars that I'm interested in pursuing conversation. Back in February, I ran a 4-hour live virtual summit, and we had 4 1-hour discussions. I don't know if you had a chance to view it. I would encourage you to do it when you have time. the people that I had in the conversation were incredible. People like yourself, really high quality people, not concerned about talking about things like love, emotions, feelings, those kinds of things. So my 4 pillars were love. So we had a discussion about that. We talked about inclusion and social justice as a third. And the last was leadership. And obviously, given your level of experience and area of responsibility, you are every day both managing, but also providing leadership. And the way you describe your onboarding process is a clear manifestation of really positive, forward-thinking and forward-feeling leadership, as I would describe it. Tell me what you think about love and its role and what you do and what OAC does, because again, you're part of an organization that talks about it.
Yeah. Well, again, it's a part of my everyday routine, right? I'm not ashamed to use the word love. I tell people that I care about, that I love them, and they see it whether I say it or not, because I'm there for them, right? And we are a little bit different now with the remote working, but you see your coworkers a lot more than you see your family, even, right? And so over time, you just develop that love, that family sense of family, and want to help them, right? Then they want to help you, and ultimately, that family is there they want to see you succeed. They want to see everybody else succeed, and it helps each other. That also translates to the clients. They see that. It's also the tradesmen, the trade partners, the general contractors. Everybody sees it. And when everybody is working together for a common purpose rather than working against each other to, complete a project, everyone's successful, and you feel a lot better for it. You're happy to go to work every day. Sometimes you're even sad to leave work. Sometimes it's. I was lucky enough to get into industry that I absolutely love right out of college, and I just want to continue to promote it, but I want to do it in such a way that everybody understands or feels the same way that I do, I guess, about it. And that's just it. And it's ultimately you're happier for it. So life's too short to be mad at something, for too long, right? It's just things happen, get over it, move on, support each other, and things will work out.
Yes. I mean, again, I apologize. I'm just thrilled with your thoughts and how you're expressing them. I can see why you fit in at OAC Services, for sure.
Absolutely.
Because I think if Sean was listening to this conversation, he'd say, yeah, yeah. Which I just think it's. We look at how folks define success, and a lot of times it's defined simply as meeting budget and schedule, or making the target profit on the job, and I think the question for you is, how do you measure success? What is success to you?
Success. To your point about meeting a schedule or a budget or things like that, that's a component of success, but success is more than that single project. It is you've made positive relationships in that completing of that project, and you're going to, which will lead to more projects, essentially, right? That is success to me, is just the continued relationship and making more relationships, strong relationships, ones that if something went wrong, on a project, those people would be there for you. And or if you're just not having a great day, they're there to pick you up, because chances are you're doing the same for them. So it's really being able to support each other, cheer for each other, be a shoulder to cry on if necessary, whatever that is. But that's a successful project.
Mm-hmm. You don't draw a hard line between being the client handler or client representative and and building a relationship with that individual or individuals that includes other facets of humanity. Again,
Yep.
just how you deal with them in a more familial way. Again, we've both been in the construction industry a long time, and we still. It doesn't matter what type of construction it is, what sector it is. There are still some, just well-worn, just genetic defects in the construction industry, and one of the greatest areas of disease are contracts.
Yep.
And still how they're written, and the simple notion that they're written to favor the author, and all those kinds of things. And so, with that, if you accept that idea that we can still do better in terms of just the whole nature of describing what should be primarily the legal relationship, but then also defines other things with the scope and all the documents and the drawings, et cetera, how do we try to manage that so that that they're not an obstacle to building a relationship with another person? How do you manage around that?
Well, again, everybody has to be on the same page on that, right? You're absolutely right. The contracts have to be there for legal purposes. I get that. Understand that. But as soon as it's signed, put it in the desk drawer and lock it up. Hopefully, you never have to pull it out, right? And never reference it. I work hard to never have to say, well, contractually, you owe me this. That doesn't help anyone. For one, all of a sudden, you're going to put somebody on their heels, and they're going to be very defensive immediately, and then they'll close up, right? They won't talk about whatever you need to talk about. So it is put it in the drawer, and then, like, I love kicking off projects with just everybody on the team that needs to work together. Is go out to coffee, go out to breakfast, go whatever it is, but have some fun together, get to know each other, get to understand what the challenges they might have at home, why they might have to call in sick one day, whatever that might be. But really, you're going to be working with those folks for a while. You might as well get to know them and befriend them, right? It's in your benefit as much as it is the benefit of the project overall.
Yeah, I would agree with that entirely. So relationship, you use relationship in introducing yourself. You've used the word a bunch of times. Can you think of an example, maybe a story where your success in building a relationship with some individual, some client, was particularly important, and how it was important in dealing with a major disagreement?
Absolutely. I was actually on the general contractor side. I was a senior project manager. I was working on a data center in Denver, Colorado, and the owner's rep. Initially, it started out, the general contractor had hired me because the project didn't have a very good start. And there was a lot of change orders and a lot of just legal stuff going back and forth. So I came in and turned that around by, again, building relationships on the project team and sitting down with the owner's representative and saying, look, we need to work together for this project to be successful. I'm not going to be successful, and you're not going to be successful unless the entire project is successful. So how do we do that? So over the next several months, we worked at doing that at the same time as our day jobs, building the project. And by about 6 months into that project, we had settled all the change orders. We had settled, and there was give and take on both sides, right? Some were justified, some were not, but we bartered back and forth, and we made it successful, is what it came down to. The project then became less confrontational. All meetings were they were great meetings. It was almost like instead of calling it a meeting, we were just sitting around chatting, is what it was like. And we would brainstorm if we had a potential problem or a delays coming up, and we'd sit there and like, what can we do here, what can we do there, those kind of things. And to this day, I am great friends with that owner's rep after all of that. And that was the gentleman that actually asked OAC to hire me.
Really?
Years later, yes.
Terrific. Thank you for that. That's a great story. Yeah, it's. I always wonder about folks who have been in our industry for a long time, who still talk in very hard tactical terms about what they do and about their relationships. Again, trades contractors, the subs. They continue to say all these horrible things about the general contractor.
Yep.
General contractor says all these horrible things about the owner's representative, and it just kind of keeps spinning around, and you wonder when they're going to kind of stick a fork in it and realize that there's a different way to do this.
Yep.
And it's a way that obviously you understand and are comfortable with. I want to move into another area. Again, one of the unfortunate things about this conversation is it's by design a roughly 30-minute conversation, because I'm told that if you get past 30 minutes, people don't even start listening. And I don't want people to miss at some point in time being able to listen to this conversation, particularly listen to you. You hear things like, the construction industry is challenged by a labor shortage. We can't find the talent of people we need in any category, whether it's a pure, let's call it office-based or managerial professional, or the trades professionals. And we're overlooking different segments of the population, racially or ethnically or otherwise. And that's why I thought it was important in my summit to talk about inclusion and social justice. Because, again, those are two things that relate to the harsh realities of being human beings. What are your thoughts about what having to understand and practice in your relationships inclusiveness, as well as thinking about how do we process what we've experienced in the last 3 years, which included a health crisis, an economic crisis, and a social crisis. So, what are your thoughts about that and how it's affected you?
The way I look at inclusion is maybe different than I think others do. I'm all for inclusion, but I work really hard not to think about it. It's a color of skin. It's the male, female, whatever it is. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the skills. Do they have a desire to learn? What do they want to learn, and how can I help them learn? Mm-hmm. Everybody learns a little bit differently. I'm dyslexic. It takes me a long time to read. I'm not very wordy. I don't have a huge vocabulary. So it takes me sometimes a while to find the right words. And so I've had to learn over many years of how to learn, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody needs that. And how can we, as folks already in the industry, regardless of background, help new people come into the industry regardless of background, mm-hmm. and not worry about their background. It doesn't matter. It's who they are as a person, and what do they want to learn? What are their life goals, right? This is, mm-hmm. again, we work most of our lives. Everybody's got goals, whether it's personal or professional. How do we support those? Again, regardless of background.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah. I like the way you express that. I think it's very relatable. And you mentioned something else about yourself, and that is your dyslexia.
Yep.
When was it diagnosed, or when did you realize it? Or because now it's I've got a very dear friend whose son who's in 8th grade. They finally arrived at a dual diagnosis. One of the part of the diagnosis is dyslexia and the impacts it has on his learning, also his self-image, and so many things. That's an element of who you are as a person, Aaron. What has it meant to you?
Yeah, I found out. I think I was my second year in college is when I was just struggling, and they decided to test me for it, and it made sense. So. As a result of that, I was able to have more time to complete tests and things like mm-hmm. that. So mm-hmm. that was really the only addition that they gave me. But I had to again learn how to learn, and it still took a while. Mm-hmm. But it's today it's just a component of who I am, and I know I have to give myself an extra couple hours to read a contract than others might take. Mm-hmm. I have to take notes. I have pretty poor memory too, so I have to take notes on what I want to remember, why I want to remember it. And by doing that helps me to remember it. But then I also can go back to it time and time again. I have so many notebooks around my office that I go back to.
Yeah.
And I've learned to use OneNote now too. So that now I can take it anywhere with me. So that absolutely helps as well.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Again, as I think about, going back to a minute to the notion of inclusion, which another closely related term that we hear a lot about is diversity. Diversity, equity, inclusion are all brought together. In fact, your company, OAC Services, was, I think, a lead sponsor or a lead promoter of an event just this past week.
Yep.
I saw a posting on LinkedIn. So again, another example of how in sync you are, just based on how I've come to know you in this very short conversation with a very good company. And I might also say, because I don't mind promoting, really good things, a company that's been recognized as a great place to work
Absolutely.
in the Seattle area. So, there's a lot of good reasons for that. And as part of the conversation, you mentioned the dyslexia. When people talk about diversity, that's about differences.
Yep.
And one of the things that I say to audiences and folks quite a bit is in the form of a question. And the question is, what's one thing that you and I have in common? One thing without any dispute that you and I and everybody else that you and I meet have in common with each other. And the simple short answer, which is almost trite to say it, but it's that we're different from each other.
Yep.
And different in numerous ways, whether it's ethnic, racial, educational background, upbringing, other kinds of situations like being dyslexic or being ADHD, whatever. We're different in a variety of ways. And what I hear with great pleasure, again, I'm being way too nice to you. We're going to edit all this nice stuff out. But I will say to you that, again, because you commented early on about how one of the things you try to do, and apparently you do it successfully, is you try to make people feel comfortable.
Yep.
And I'm very comfortable talking to you. So I commend you for how you choose to be, because I always talk about you have to have the technical capability to do your job, and yours is highly technical. But how you do it is the difference maker. That's what helps a person to let people know who they're dealing with, and not simply I'm a vice president and I've got project assignment to do your project. It's about who you are as a person. Yep. And the way we learn about who people are in our lives is based on what they say to us and what they do in terms of interacting with us. And that's why I think relationships are the difference maker.
Absolutely.
Any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I feel like what we've talked about here seems like common sense a lot of times, right? But it's hard to do that if you're not used to doing it, right? So you have to be accepting of that. It's hard work to do it, right? It's hard work to change. Change is hard. We don't do it well, right? It takes time to do it. But if it's something that calls to you, I think try building relationships and be vulnerable, right? Be there for somebody because they're going to be there for you.
I can't take it anymore. I just can't take this. I can't wait for Sean to listen to this, but again, I commend you for how you represent who you are as a person.
Thank you.
And I'm certain that it contributes to your success, but probably as importantly, I think it probably contributes to your self-view and probably contributes to you not only being successful in what you do, but also being happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sure that if I were to sit here quietly, you'd probably say, well, Dennis, one of the things that helps me be happy is I meditate.
Yeah.
But this has been an incredible conversation for me. And I hope you've enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
And I wish you well in everything you do. And I know our paths will cross for sure.
I hope they do. Yes.
Yeah. In person.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go out and get my variants booster so I can safely travel to the West Coast. I've gotten my flu shot. Good. But thank you for taking this time. And it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Soft as Steel podcast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you again for having me. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today for this episode of the Soft as Steel podcast with your host, Dennis Doran. Dennis is the author of Soft as Steel and a leading speaker and trainer for organizations across many industries and verticals. To learn more about the work Dennis is doing to activate soft skills in the workplace, contact him at DennisDuranSpeaking.com. Be sure to check out his book, Soft as Steel, on Amazon or wherever books are sold. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or wherever you'd like to get your podcasts. And please remember to share this episode with your friends, colleagues, and anyone you feel would benefit from the conversation. We'll see you next time on the Soft as Steel podcast with Dennis Doran.